Up next, we have Yo Wei Ren, Manager, Stocks and ETFs Research, IFA Singapore, who will share about 3 ETFs you should know to invest in the future of technology. Wei Ren, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today at What and Where to Invest 2021. My name is Wei Ren. I'm actually part of the research team at FSM1. And today, the main topic of my sharing is on technology. And specifically, I want to highlight 3 ETFs that you should know about if you want to invest in the future of the digital economy. Now, I know that we have been talking about technology and digital economy for the longest time throughout 2020, and also I think last Saturday you have perhaps heard from my colleagues about investing in the digital economy. But there's a very good reason why we always talk about the digital economy, and the reason really is this. It is because of the fact that the digital economy is a massive market. If you look at the market size of the digital economy, it's actually valued at about 9.5 trillion US dollars. And if you treat the digital economy as a standalone national economy, then it is actually currently the 3rd largest economy in the world right now, just behind the US and China. And within it also lies a lot of investment opportunities for us. But every time when we talk about technology and the digital economy, I think a lot of investors, they tend to associate technology with things like e-commerce, and social media. But the digital economy is really more than just that. Not only are digital economies present in the e-commerce space and as well as the digital media space, digital technologies are also present in lesser known industries such as the travel industry, finance industry, as well as the healthcare industry. Which is why today I wanted to spend some time to talk about 3 ETFs that give you very specific exposure to these lesser known areas of the digital economy. And the first ETF that I want to talk about today is actually something that my colleagues have already talked a lot about today. I want to talk about the travel industry. Now, I think some of my colleagues have talked about investing in airlines, investing in hospitality REITs, and today I want to propose another way for you to play the potential travel recovery in 2021, and that is using a travel technology ETF. Now, the reason why I want to talk about travel industry is because travel industry is one of those industries that has been badly hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. But with the distribution of the COVID-19 vaccines, then a lot of investors are expecting 2021 to be a vaccine-driven economic recovery. And this is also a view that FSM1 has, and which also brings me to my next point, which is that the travel industry is also going to be one of the main beneficiaries of this vaccine-driven economic recovery in 2021. Now, the recovery has in fact already started. Okay, if you look at this particular chart over here, if you look at traveling activity at the global level, it has in fact started to recover. Of course, we are still far off from pre-COVID-19 levels, but the fact is people are starting to travel. And but of course, if you look at the recovery in across the different key markets in the world, the recovery has so far been very unbalanced because certain markets have actually experienced a very fast rebound, but there are also certain markets that continue to face challenges. So I think a case in point right now is the US and Europe travel markets, which are facing second and maybe even some facing their third waves of COVID-19 infections. And also between the domestic market as well as the international travel market, the recovery has so far been driven by a recovery in domestic markets. And at this point, I just want to bring up a very good example of how domestic traveling markets has actually been spearheading the recovery in global travel. And the example that I want to bring up is actually the Chinese domestic travel market, which has been leading the recovery in global traveling activity. Because if you look at this chart over here, if you look at the level of traveling activity on domestic routes within China, as indicated by the blue line on my slides, you can see that the level of rebound has actually been very strong, to the extent that it is about 90% of pre-COVID-19 levels. But of course, if you look at the traveling activity on international routes, then of course, the traveling activity on international routes, it's really far more muted compared to the domestic traveling activity. And the reason for that is because I think China has done a really good job in containing the COVID-19 situation within the country. But outside of China, I think the COVID-19 situation is really more uncertain. And also because of the fact that if you were to travel outside of China and if you come back, then you will have to serve a compulsory quarantine. And a lot of Chinese travelers, they actually do not want that, which is why a lot of them are actually opting for traveling on domestic routes. And some pictures over here. If you have attended a couple of my presentations back then, I have actually showed these pictures before, but I'm going to show them again just to illustrate the fact that I think people are starting to travel within China, and even people in Wuhan, which is the place where COVID-19 started. People are also starting to travel as well. And my main point really is this. I think people at the bottom of their hearts, they actually do want to get out of their houses. They actually do want to travel. And the reason why they are not traveling right now is because they are really fearful of contracting the COVID-19 virus. And that is perfectly understandable, which is why the discovery, or rather the rollout of vaccines worldwide, I think that is going to be a game changer for the travel industry. Besides the availability of vaccines, there is also going to be a potential large-scale rollout of rapid test kits that will complement the world government's public health responses to the COVID-19 pandemic. And all these together, I think it bodes well for the travel industry, because I think travel will eventually resume. I think the question now is when will it resume? So we don't think that travel will stage a very strong rebound in 2021, but we believe that the recovery will continue into 2021, and this is going to be a positive development for travel-related stocks. Now, where does technology come in all of this? Technology comes into the travel industry because travel industry is one of those industries that is experiencing a lot of digital disruption. So one of the ways the industry is being disrupted is the fact that a lot of travel bookings of hotels, of airline tickets, of tour packages, they are gradually shifting from the offline space into the online space. And in fact, if you look at some of the market forecasts out there, they are actually predicting an annual growth rate of about close to about 11% over the next 3 years. And that is a forecast of recovery for the online travel market. And also in other ways, technology has been playing an important role, such as the use of artificial intelligence to make personalized recommendations to consumers, and also the use of augmented reality to help enhance the overall travel experience for travelers. And also, one of the major breakthroughs in digital disruption in our travel industry is that the availability of technology has actually enabled the sharing economy. So companies like Airbnb, Uber, and Lyft, these are all enabled by the onset of the digital economies. And of course, in the longer term, beyond the immediate 3 years, if we look beyond, perhaps over the next 10 years or maybe even 20 years, I think the travel market is going to grow. And emerging markets, they are going to be the key growth drivers. And when I say emerging markets, I'm really talking about China as well as India. But I think a more interesting statistic that I want to highlight in this particular slide is the fact that a large proportion of travel bookings in emerging markets like China, they are actually still being made in the offline space. And that is largely due to a lack of sufficient internet access. Which also means that as the internet infrastructure in these emerging markets improves, then as people get connected to the internet, I think people are going to start shifting their purchasing of travel packages from the offline space into the online space. Now, if you buy into this long-term growth story, and also if you want to look for ways to play the travel recovery in 2021, then here's one recommendation for you, which is the ETF MG Travel Tech ETF. And if you look at some of the main companies and also main sectors within this ETF, you are actually investing in companies that are related to travel bookings and reservations, and also ride-hailing and ride-sharing companies. So if you look at the top companies, I think some of them are perhaps very well known to all of us, Booking Holdings, Airbnb, Trip.com, and if you look down the list, then you also see ride-hailing companies like Uber and Lyft. So one ETF for you to consider. And another ETF that I also want to bring to your attention today is the ETF MG Prime Mobile Payments ETF. And the reason why I want to highlight this is also because of the fact that I think financial services is also another area that is undergoing rapid digitalization. I think it has really changed how financial services firms interact with their customers. And also after COVID-19, I think it is imperative and very critical for financial services firms to be able to still conduct business with their customers in the online space, because you never know when the next health crisis like COVID-19 is going to hit the world again. But financial services is actually a very big area. You have got your digital payments, crowdfunding, peer-to-peer lending, the list goes on. But if you look at some of the biggest and the fastest growing areas within financial services, it is actually in the area of digital payments, which is also the key focus of my presentation today. Now, I think digital payments is an area that is expected to see very strong growth. I think there are a couple of reasons why we should be optimistic over the long-term prospects of digital payments, because I think digital payments has actually been a game changer, especially in the retail space. On the part of consumers, I think digital payments has really made payments very seamless and very easy. For businesses, being able to offer a lot more payment options, including digital payment methods, has also seen them being able to capture new customer segments. And also governments worldwide, because of COVID-19 and because of the fact that physical cash can be a potential medium to transmit the virus, I think governments are also encouraging citizens to adopt digital payments as well. And also, I think the MAS has recently come out to say that they encourage all of us in this upcoming Chinese New Year to give ang paos using digital methods. And the reason for that is not just because of COVID-19, but also because of the fact that physical cash actually is, it actually comes at an environment cost, which also means that as we shift to more sustainable solutions, as governments across the world try to tackle climate change, then what we are likely to see in the future is a gradual shift from physical cash into cashless payment methods. And also some interesting facts about the state of cashless payments in selected countries in the world right now. I think by and large at the global level, we are still very much a physical cash society. Of course, I think some markets have actually made very significant progress in moving its population to digital payment methods. I think the US has done a great job. China has also done a fantastic job in advancing its digital payments industry. But even then, even with all the efforts that it has made over the years, about 40% of China's payments are still come from physical cash payments. And of course, interestingly and also shockingly, Europe and Japan, despite being at the forefront of technological innovation, these two are actually markets that have a significant proportion of their payments using physical cash. So in terms of the market potential for digital payments to come in, I think the potential is there, and especially since we are going to see a gradual shift from physical cash to cashless payment methods. And another key driver of the adoption of digital payments is really e-commerce. Not only are more people adopting e-commerce because of COVID-19, the existing people who are using e-commerce before COVID-19, they have also started to use a lot more of e-commerce services to do their shopping. So this increase in e-commerce activity, I think it is going to be a major driving force for digital payments adoption in the future. And also another factor is really there are a rising number of payment options. I think in these days, coffee shops and hawker centers, they also need to offer digital payment methods while at the same time also accepting physical cash. And being able to offer a number of payment methods, I think for the businesses, it allows them to capture new customer segments. And being able to offer these complex web of payment options also requires businesses to work with third-party fintech firms. And therein lies the opportunity for fintech companies. I think in the future, I think payment firms, they will definitely be entrenched as an essential component of retail businesses. So this is how the future of mobile payments is going to be like. I think the future of mobile payments is going to be driven by the millennials. Physical cards are probably going to go away because we can store this information easily in our mobile phones. And we can also now use wearables to pay for our purchases at retail outlets. And also in the very near future, payment with a selfie, fingerprint, or a very simple retina scan, it is going to be the norm in the world of payments. So if you would like to capture this growth in the area of digital payments, then of course this ETF is something that you can consider, which is the ETF MG, Prime Mobile Payments ETF. Now if you look at the breakdown of this particular ETF, the key companies inside, the card network companies are all inside, including your MasterCard, Visa, Amex, and at the same time, there is also quite a fair bit of exposure to payments processing companies and also the companies that offer hardware as well as software solutions that enable this entire digital payments ecosystem. So another ETF for you to consider. And the last ETF that I want to talk about is really this Telemedicine and Digital Health ETF. And again, the reason for that is because of COVID-19, because I think COVID-19 has really brought, has really disrupted the healthcare space, and it has in fact driven massive adoption of telemedicine because of the fact that COVID-19 has actually put a strain on all aspects of the global healthcare system. And I think China, in fact, has started to encourage its population to start adopting telemedicine solutions because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you look at some of the very popular telemedicine platforms in China, adoption rates on these platforms has actually increased by many folds. And I think in the future, telemedicine and digital health solutions, they are going to transform the healthcare sector. Not only because it helps to facilitate safe and effective patient care from afar, but also because of the fact that I think healthcare on the part of individuals, for consumers, they are starting to prefer treatment methods that come with greater effectiveness as well as convenience. So being safe and effective also comes along with convenience for telemedicine solutions. And also, I think in the near future, healthcare will increasingly take place across a variety of locations between the hospital and the home. And I think this shift in healthcare towards digitalization is going to be driven by a couple of factors. Increased connectivity is one. I think people are also living longer, which means that your future healthcare demand is going to increase exponentially. Whether or not the supply of hospitals, healthcare facilities, and healthcare professionals can catch up to this demand, but I do feel that telemedicine services can come in to help meet some of this increase in demand that is associated with an aging population. And on top of that, in our world right now, there is actually unequal access to healthcare services, especially if you are talking about the rural areas. So the rural population in our world right now, they actually do not have convenient or easy access to healthcare facilities. And I think telemedicine and also digital technologies can really help to bridge the gap between healthcare solutions and our rural population. And last but not least, I think digital technologies can also help to improve the efficiencies in our global healthcare systems. Now, a bit of introduction to some of the key players within the telemedicine space. I think some of the key companies, you might have heard of them before. Ping An Good Doctor, it is currently one of the leading players in the world right now in terms of the telemedicine space, largely because of the fact that it is operating in China, which has the largest population in the world right now. And along with Ping An, there is also companies like Teladoc, which operates mainly in the US and is also the largest telemedicine platform in the US right now. Okay, but of course, if you look at the key areas of opportunity in digital health, it is really more about just telemedicine. Yes, telemedicine, I think, is one of the areas that we should be looking at in terms of areas of opportunity in digital health. But the fact is that there are also opportunities in healthcare devices as well, especially in devices that are connected to the internet and devices that automatically transmit data to the patients and to physicians. And that actually enables physicians to monitor high-risk patients from a distance and also helping them to deliver better treatments to their patients. Analytics is also another fast-growing field. Healthcare companies, they are increasingly leveraging on data analytics to improve the delivery of healthcare services. And I think examples in this will include the use of AI as well as data analytics platforms to comb through large amounts of data that is in the healthcare space right now to try to come up with better treatment methods, better testing methods, and also to deliver better clinical outcomes for patients. Okay, so if you want to invest in the telemedicine and the digital health space, there is currently only one ETF that you can consider listed on the NASDAQ, which is the Global X Telemedicine and Digital Health ETF. So if you look at the top 10 companies, you will realize that the telemedicine companies that I just highlighted, they are not inside the top 10 holdings. Fretch not, they are actually inside the ETF, just that they are not the top holdings. So what this ETF actually invests in is actually not just the telemedicine service platforms, but also companies that manufacture healthcare devices and also companies that are involved in healthcare technology. So if I may go back to my previous slide, so a lot of the companies that are in this ETF, they are actually involved in the area of healthcare analytics. So one ETF to consider if you want to invest in the future of telemedicine and the digital health space. And this actually brings me to the conclusion of my presentation today. I have actually shared 3 ETFs that you can consider for your portfolios in 2021. And I hope you're as excited about me as the future of digital economy, as well as the 3 ETFs that I have highlighted today. And once again, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to What and Where to Invest 2021. Thank you.